we are recording. We're starting the live. And so if you want to introduce yourself, who are you? What's your name?
Buenos días. Me llamo Bobby Evans. Hoy es viernes 25 de octubre. Yo estoy aquí con mi hijo Marcus. El hombre es mi hijo y yo soy el padre. Hoy no hace caliente, no hace calor, hace frío hoy. Está más mejor. Y yo vivo aquí here in Westlake Park, mobile home retirement in nuestra casa es 139 139 número de mi casa in
Okay, so this is my
Westlake
dad.
Park.
He's white. I look Latin. All you guys running around going, that guy's Mexican. You can always tell, like, I'm Mexican. Like always the Latinos, like, always look at me, they do this. And they're like, Here's my dad. He's white. He speaks fluent Spanish. So for you, that's why I was documenting.
Yes.
I was like always telling people, like, no, my dad's white and he speaks fluent Spanish. My mom's full blood Mexican and she doesn't speak any Spanish, and they just like their minds blow up.
No,
So I'm like,
sí, es verdad.
Yo es mi padre. See, I'm third generation in Tejano, which they hate the accent after. So este es mi padre y yo habla mejor que yo la lengua de mexicanos.
Sí, es todo verdad. El hombre es mi hijo y yo soy el padre. Let's see. Es verdad, sí. Yeah, yo soy un gabacho.
Honky.
That's a honky. Gabacho is a honky. Just as let's see.
You don't even say white. You say honky.
Honky, yeah.
You go, I'm honky. You don't even go, I'm white.
You're so
like,
honky.
His legal name's Bobby Wayne Evans.
La madre.
It's not Bob Evans. It's Bobby Wayne. Right,
Mi esposa en pasada está mexicana.
Sí.
Toda mexicana.
Sí. No habla la lengua. También.
Wonderful. ¿Cómo se dice wonderful? Mujer. Pero está todo verdad. Yo soy un honky, gabacho. Yo soy el padre de mi hijo Marcos. Marcus Brand Evans.
And you grew up.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is the Sweaty Mexican Chronicles coming at you. That's the name of my YouTube show, Dad. Call it the Sweaty Mexican
Sweaty
Chronicles.
Mexican?
Yeah, so what up? We do high-level policy, but we make fun. I already told you that the mic's fake. It's just to make people feel like in it, because they're going to look at the microphone and think, oh, yeah, he's on site.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So my dad grew up here in Chowchilla.
In Chowchilla.
Chowchilla.
Yep.
And you had a Mexican maid or nanny?
Oh, no. Cuando estoy en Wyoming.
Wyoming?
Mm-hmm.
There's Mexicans in Wyoming back then?
Sí, cuando estoy un joven, nuestro tiene un babysitter.
Your babysitter.
Yo no sé la palabra for babysitter.
Yeah, you learn words.
Señora Galvez. This is where it began.
You can see the brown sweeping into his brain, like it starts at an early age. You get them when you're young. Impressionable.
Cuando estoy 8, tengo 8 años.
This young, delicate
Aquí en estado de Wyoming, en la ciudad de Stansbury. Yep.
And then you came to the valley, and it was crawling with Latinos. And you were out here, and you weren't even in Fresno. You were in like the Valley. And
Chachula.
then you came back.
Estoy vivo en Chachula.
You met Mom. But then also the other thing was you worked at a sheet metal shop where you had to talk to 3/4 of the laborers who were Latinos. Many of them were undocumented and they didn't understand Spanish, and you had to know Spanish and engineering specification Spanish. Is that right?
Sí. Todo el tiempo yo tengo que hablar en español a los gente en Valley Welding and Machine Shop. And mi esposa pasada was vives in la Estada, Texas. She lived in Texas. Is where
my mom came. Yeah, I was going to ask you about
from
that.
Texas.
Just to let you know, though, I grew up as a boy. My dad had me go out to the metal shop, me and my brother, and we'd work out. All the Mexicans, except for one, like my dad. And that's because he talked to them like they were regular people and equals. Even though he was paid more and he was higher up, he talked to them. And they might be here illegally, and he didn't care, and he talked to them like real humans. And so when I got there, all these motherfuckers were always walking up, giving me burritos and sodas, and just going, "Oh, su Bobby's hijo?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's my dad." And their faces just smiled, like they were like, "Oh, it's true. Look at here's his beaner son coming out." And these dudes were like way cool to me. And I'm like, I guess my dad's cool with them, except for one dude didn't like my dad, and that would be the foreman, who was full-blood Mexican and didn't speak Spanish as good as my father did, and did not treat the other Mexicans as equals. And that was the one Mexican guy who hated him while everybody else loved him. Am I getting this wrong?
No. Esta verdad y está muy importante to hablar los ayudas con simplificado y con su corazón, no en la cabeza, con su corazón. Means to talk to them from your heart, not from your head. And to treat them just simply and respectfully, and don't try to show off,
right,
or be somebody you're not.
Yeah, maybe said that.
Or more powerful or more worthy than they are. Not at all. And you will find that that is a great way to learn, aprender la lengua de las brazos y mestizos, is to speak just very respectfully. And that made all the difference in the world. Y Señora Galvez, when we were muy pequeño, because la Señora Galvez y de hijo David no hablar inglés mucho. So we learned from each other, back and forth.
Yeah. So I don't want to take up your whole day, but I got two more questions for you.
See?
Number one was Texas. So, I get it, whatever, it didn't work out, but you took Mom and Tia Elena, and you went back to Texas.
Amarillo.
Right, to Amarillo, which is where the Tejanos are from. I just met some other Tejanos. So he goes with my mom, and he takes him back to Texas, and my mom's like, yeah, you got to understand, in St. Cali, this is like the South, basically. So they go over there. My dad just served, and he got out of the military, so he's thinking, like, I'm a badass, and this is America, and I fought for this. And you go to some pizza joint where they're like, we don't serve dogs and Mexicans, right? Or something like that.
We went to a cafe, and it was, we were on our way back from Texas to California.
Right.
And we stopped at a restaurant, get some breakfast and coffee.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that there was this um, white supremacy over brown or black people predominantly like that. And so we were in the restaurant and waiting to be served, and I could see that they were avoiding us. They were serving other people that came in after us.
Yeah.
Hey, can we have some coffee? And they just plainly said, no, we're not going to serve you. So I jumped over the counter, got the coffee pot, and poured us some coffee. And boy, his mom and her sister at that time just eyes open and shocked, like, "Oh hell, we're in trouble."
Because they didn't have white boys jumping up for Latin people back then, right? So this is new. Nobody's seen this shit. Now you come out here to California, and you walk up to some white boy's Latina girlfriend, he's going to clock you. But this is 30, 40 years ago. It was this.
Whoa, yeah, 40.
Nobody's doing this.
45.
Like, why are these white people hanging out next to us? Oh my God, this guy gets pissed off. You insulted his girlfriend? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, now that's normal. Back then, they're like, are you a Martian? Right?
So,
they're like,
so we finished up our coffee and left because Connie and her sister, Elena, was just, hey, we got to go. We got to get out of here.
They were freaking out.
They were very scared.
But you were ready to stay.
You
was. At the counter, and you're like, you put the money down. You're like, here you go. I paid you.
We want some food and we want some coffee. And no, I was not going to go.
Well, this is what they did at the lunch counter thing, right? In the South, where the black people fought for their right to be treated as equals at the Woolworth lunch counter.
Yeah, I would say similar. It was astonishing to think that, you're 40 and it was way before 45 years ago.
Right.
That this was happening. I at that time, I was, say 28, 30 years old and fresh out of the service, and I was in no mood to put up with any kind of bullshit like that.
Yeah.
It didn't dawn on me that, hey, you could get hurt. It was just, you're not going to treat them that way, and you're not going to treat me this way.
But you were maybe going to get sent to Vietnam, maybe going to die. It didn't happen.
Possibility.
Yeah. You come back, you find some chick, and you're hanging out with her. They're like, well, we don't serve them. And you're like, I imagine you're like, well, what the fuck was I fighting for? Like this shit? Segregation? This is why I was going to get my ass potentially killed in a foreign country so that you could be a bigot?
I'm protecting you, and you act like this?
That's right. I can see that's like that black dude for the BLM protest. Came back from Iraq, and he's like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah.
I almost get blown up 50 times to protect this place. And then there was some famous black dude, he had all his medals, and he's just shaking his medals in the streets in New York because they were like roughing up some of the BLM team. I'm not taking a stance, but they were roughing up some of the BLM team. And he's like, I just fucking got back from Fallujah. I almost got blown up. I saw a bunch of my buddies get blown up.
Yeah.
And you want to be white, you want to be Asian, great for it. But a couple black people want to go protest, and this is the shit. Because they were starting to push him, and he was like, whoa, motherfuckers. Like, I almost died so that you can do this shit here. And I'm not having it. I'm not having it. I'm a vet. I just got out. You ain't doing this when I just got back. Imagine a little bit of that 1970s.
Many times. There was
You're coming out
when
like,
I got out of the service, and I was going to Fresno City College, the junior college.
City. The Vietnam War protest.
And I met up with a couple other guys that had just gotten out about the same time. I'd gotten out of the Army. Steve was out of the Navy, and Mario was ex-Marine.
Right.
And we all had pretty much the same attitude. Okay, yeah, you guys can protest, it's stupidity. You're protesting against this and you're protesting against that, but yet you leave enough time in the day to go collect your federal supplied money support. And, as long as we get to speak equally, at that time, it was, we would go to, Steve and Mario and I would go to one of their organized on-stage protests about, the government is this bad and the government isn't doing that. And we don't need to be there, and we don't need to be doing this. And so we would intentionally just jump up on the stage and grab the microphone and start talking. And that was called a disturbance. You know, that we hadn't been authorized to be there. And
Sure, you had nice things
so
to say.
we said pretty much the opposite of what the hell these people were bitching and moaning about. And
Activism.
so
that's activism.
We were restricted from participating. So
yep.
There was another meeting at a later time, another organized on-stage event where they were, going to be protesting a lot of the things that the government wasn't doing, but the same government was supplying them with subsistence and paid education. And so we, Steve and Mario and I, couldn't attend it. We were restricted from being in the audience. So we snuck up behind the stage, and I cut all their fucking lines.
Yeah. He
then
cut
we,
the lines, so they couldn't just plug them back in.
Cut the goddamn cords.
They had to go get all new cords.
Ran away real quick.
Yeah. So,
man, I remember that.
Now, I never did that. I've never done destruction, but
No.
I did voice my opinion. I did say something people didn't want to hear. I did do it very vocally, and then I got banned on Facebook, Twitter, and almost every other platform. So travel back in time 44 years ago.
Yeah.
This is California. The majority of the people were here. Like, the Vietnam War is bad. So my dad gets up and he says something unpopular in a democratic platform when we're supposed to have freedom of speech. And what do? Ban him. So it's activism. I'm saying something's not popular. You're banned. 45 years later, the exact same motherfucking shit going down. Welcome to America.
Isn't that interesting? That long ago, they could be up on stage and protesting, and I think what it amounted to in their weak little system was that they had a permit. They had asked for this date, and Steve and Mario and I were kind of unannounced, to put it politely, and we got into a little bit more than just words on occasion with some of the people in the audience, and fortunate for us, unfortunate for them, we had training to take care of opponents. They did not, and then we ended up getting escorted by the campus security at that time.
Yeah.
And just removed from the premises and guarded from coming back in. And it even reminds me of before you were born, when mom was pregnant with you. And here in the city of Fresno, in the hospitals, the husbands, were not allowed in the delivery room.
And you were the first dad.
And they were only allowed in the room where you're waiting to be removed to the delivery room. And there was a couple here in Fresno called Steve and Risa Rodemeyer, who were pioneering the idea of the Lamaze classes, and the husband being able to be in the delivery room. And it was very early stages, and it was forbidden and protested and blocked. And one of the times, Steve and his wife was pregnant at one of that period of time. And so what Steve did was he snuck in a pair of handcuffs with him into the labor room, not the delivery room. And when it came time for Risa to be moved from the labor room to delivery room, he handcuffed him and his wife together. So off to the delivery room, handcuffed.
Activism again.
Well,
fighting for rights.
It was still pretty heavily protested at the time that his mom was pregnant with him. And I fully intended to. I had 3 friends that were on the police force, and I managed to get a pair of handcuffs from them. I had them in my pocket, and I was pleading with the obstetrician at that time, Dr. Malley, at the hospital, the St. Agnes Hospital. I'm going to be there with you. We've gone through these Lamaze classes. I'm just as close as I can be without being inside of her, and I don't want to be separated from this. And no, 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 no. And so right at the very last minutes in the labor room, the obstetrician nursing team came and said, "We got to take her. We got to take her. She's dilated." And I said, "I'm going." And I wouldn't let go of the bed, and I was ready to put the handcuffs on. And Connie knew I was going to do it. And so the obstetrician came in there and said, "All right, let him go." So,
because he'll do it. Go fucking test it. This fucker will do it. He's crazy like that. Go, you ain't taking away from this fucking kid.
I got to go into the delivery room, highly protested, and I couldn't get too close. I had to stand back with my gown and mask on, but I was there.
so like, you gotta understand, like, he had to fight to be there when his woman's giving birth. Now, maybe you're married, maybe you're not married, but you get with some chick and you have the kid and you're like, that's my fucking kid and I'm going to be involved. And
now look how it is promoted.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, everybody expects that.
I mean,
this is back in the day.
It's advanced from there to where now the working father gets maternity leave.
Well, they have maternity leave, and like Jay-Z and Beyonce had like matching beds. They had a maternity ward for her, and then they built him a custom bed so he could sit and like look at Beyonce while she was giving birth. Like, it's totally different now. They totally accommodate this, and they go to wild. And then you were like, look, shit's gonna go down if I don't get to be there when my kid's born.
I'm just gonna handcuff him.
And dudes had to do that, and not a lot of dudes did that back in the day. There was a couple dudes, and here's my activist dad doing this. That's almost like a liberal progressive thing, Dad. Whoa.
Maternity leave then was it didn't exist. You were allowed the mother, if she was working, she had to use her vacation plus whatever leniency the employer might want to do. And there was no guarantee if she was working that your job was going to be there when you came back, because you had a baby. That's your problem. Wow. And look to where it is advanced today. After 45 years ago. Jeez.
Yep.
It is interesting to see how our world has advanced, but I think just as contrasting is that there is still this dislike and disfavor amongst one color of a person to another color of a person. I mean, there are white supremacists who don't like brown people and black people, and there are black people who don't like white people.
That's true.
It exists on both sides.
Yeah.
And in enough numbers and occurrences that it's not unnoticeable.
Right.
It is still there. There are still people who have incorrectly been indoctrinated in that for whatever reason they feel this other race is less than them, or infringing upon their rights and their privileges, or they've tried to do this to me and we tried to do that to them, and it still exists today, and I find myself feeling discouraged from time to time looking at it. Still exists. It still exists in the highest level of our national government.
It's a battle. We still have to fight.
In our national government.
It's not over. We thought it was over, but it's not over. We're going to have to fight. 45.
What was it? I saw I think it was this morning, some one of the View, I think it was, and they were talking about a government official. Oh yeah, the death of Colin Powell recently.
Yeah.
And the lady was talking about having talked to Colin Powell's wife, sometime in the recent past, before his death.
Yeah.
And his wife making the talk, the speech that this this unrest and this supremacy is sort of like a freedom, that it's your existence against it, your activism against it, is never over. You're always going to be involved in it, just because of the way people think about other races.
America.
Yeah.
All right. We'll stop it there.
Enjoy talking to you.